Hi, it's Bryson here. I am here in Grant Park. I've been walking around this evening as the sun is setting. Just really enjoying the beauty of all of the parks in Chicago. I have Honest Abe right behind me. There's a reason why I just said honest, because I need to be honest about something today. And this is regardless of what you think about the man, Abraham Lincoln. And yes, there is a statue of Abraham Lincoln in Grant Park. Riddle me that, right? So, named after Grant. Right? So anyway, what I'm going to talk about in this video, I'm going to be brutally honest about something that I need to speak about and that more people need to hear. And it is, these are going to be this is going to be four tactics that are used by false light institutions. So basically I can kind of title this video Dark Light Institutions and Their Tactics. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how certain false light institutions use some of the tactics they use to control people and to persuade people and lead them down a bad path. Now, first off, let me start out by defining what I'm defining as false light institutions. I did not create this term, but what this has to do with is institutions, and sometimes this can even be talking about individuals who establish themselves as saviors and as working for good, but they actually work for evil. And it's pretty easy once you realize what's going on, how to pick these institutions out. Because if you are an institution that works for the light, you should not be using dark, negatively oriented tactics to control people and to fight opposition. Because if you stand for light and you stand for good, then everything you should do should be loving. The first tactic that is very common, and just to let you guys know, some of these things that I'm going to say are going to kind of overlap because there are going to be certain related things that are in between the four of these, but I'm just going to say them as it is anyway. So the first tactic that they use is the most obvious: fear. You have to ask yourself, if you are someone who works for light and for goodness, and what you stand for is goodness and love, why do you need fear to get people on board with you? You don't need to traumatize someone with fear if what you stand for is light. I had a video where I talk about mass media and how mass media uses fear-based narratives to hypnotize people, because once you bury a fear in someone's brain and they're in fight, flight, freeze mode, it's very easy to control that person. And so then what happens is this often leads to and segues into the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is why I'm saying that these things are kind of overlapping, is you then see the usage of number two thing that will warn you that you are interacting with a false light institution that is not actually standing for good and that is actually serving the evil forces of this world, is divide and conquer. If you stand for good, divide and conquer is something that could never be a part of what you're seeking. Because if you seek good in this world, you seek a unification of human beings despite differences, and getting people to learn to respect other people's right to think, feel, and do as they please. Obviously, as long as you're not intentionally causing some sort of harm to someone, like maliciously and intentionally. So we all have the right to be sovereign beings, and we all have right to choose what we think, what we feel, what we choose to do with our bodies, where we want to go in our lives, and different things like that. So when you teach divide and conquer tactics, where you create this othering, where you create this idea that your group is the superior righteous group, the other group are evil, they're the others. If they are doing that, you're dealing with a false light institution. If you look at history, Every single time in history, when you've had horrifying government systems, atrocities, and organizations take over, they always use that tactic. 100%. This is not debatable. So when people are using divide and conquer tactics, pretty much everything they say is garbage, because if you're trying to actually do good in this world, you are not going to do something that actually leads to more evil in this world, more hatred of human beings. So you're not going to use that. The third tactic is censorship. If you stand for ultimate truth and your narrative stands for ultimate truth, it stands on its own. It can stand up to any questions. It can stand up to any opposing opinions, because it's ultimate truth. And if it's ultimate truth and ultimate good, the statement itself will stand. So when you're trying to silence other people who are speaking something that is, or like even just asking questions, because I mean, we got to the point now where just asking certain questions can get you censored nowadays. So when you do that, you have to ask yourself, what is this person trying to hide? Because if they speak from a position of truth, truth is just truth, and that's it. And then the fourth tactic that is oftentimes used by false light institutions is they will oftentimes encourage their followers to bully, gaslight, and make ad hominem attacks at anyone who was the outgroup. And instead of getting you to understand that other people can have different opinions than you and not be bad people, they teach you to see these people as vile people. And this is obviously related to the divide and conquer, because it's the division first, right? So it's the fear, then it's the division, and then they attempt to silence people who are saying things that might make the people they're controlling think and question. And then they teach those people to attack anyone who speaks against that narrative. This shit is just the ultimate truth. There's overwhelming evidence to support this position. Look at any time in history, Nazi Germany, Soviet Union, any of these things, they all use these tactics every single time. So what makes anybody think that what is going on today is any different? You have this fear. And you all know what the things I'm talking about are, that everybody's getting afraid about. And this fear is being used to divide and conquer. I am telling you, so I believe his name is Aaron Apke. He's a YouTuber. He had a really good phrase that he used about what happens when people fall for these false light institutions and don't pay attention to the fact that they're using dark tactics. They claim to be light, but they're using dark tactics. They're not asking questions. As he said, that a lot of people, unfortunately, when they get captured by the dark force, they don't realize they've been had until it's checkmate. And that's really unfortunate how that happens, how people get wrapped up and they don't pay attention. And I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is that you are afraid of, that you have been convinced to divide it and be felt divided against some other group of the population. And you guys know what I'm talking about, how this division has been happening right now. Ask yourself, why are they using darkness if they stand for light, if they stand for good? Nobody who stands for light is going to use those kind of tactics. So I try to just tell people, turn news the fuck off, because that shit is poisoning people's brains. Now, people have the right to make their own sovereign free choices and do whatever they want to do with their consciousness and receive whatever information. Listen, I'm not trying to impose anything on anybody. I'm just a messenger. And I promise you, if you anyone who tries to debate this is going to lose. Because I can literally just pull up tons of cases throughout history where this exact same thing is being done. So what makes anybody think that now is any different? It's because they're afraid. It's the number one thing that I said. The fear captivates your mind. And you know what? I'm going to add a bonus on here. I'm going to add a fifth, actually, on here. A fifth thing that these types of institutions, these false light institutions use is it's all about limitation. Everything is limitation. You are restricted because of this. And usually that's, like I said, it all overlaps, because with the divide and conquer, they will say this group of the population is restricting you because of this. I'm telling you guys, watch out for that shit. It's bad. And some people are going to just think I'm crazy, even with all of the evidence. Just point it out historically, just boop, 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 boop. But in the moment, because of the fear, they don't see it. So I really hope that whoever tuned in enjoyed this video. Please share this video. I want people who are open-minded enough to open their hearts and lead humanity toward love to hear this. So share it with someone who you think would appreciate this. Please subscribe if you haven't. Thank you, and you have a wonderful day.